Good morning, people. Glenn here with Turk. Turk, how we doing, my friend?
I'm very well, mate. Very well. Good morning to you all.
Good morning. Saturday morning G&T here on Mother's Day Eve. How you doing, Pre?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank God he ain't done that morning, fellas. How we doing? Have a great week. Kids back to school.
Turkan,
Yes.
what do you need after a G&T?
I think you need a pee. You got a pee? I'm so glad we're still carrying on that joke.
So, mate, I'm going to continue it. It's going to be the tagline, punchline, and it all be on end all. Yeah, kids back to school. We all happy?
Yes, very happy. Kids are happy. Coming home knackered, coming home starving. All good. Good on them.
Yeah, absolutely shattered my daughter every single evening.
I see Turkan and his missus had a proper party in the motor the other day after dropping them off.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We dropped them off and then we done a little celebrational little dance. Which
I was trying to download that, but I couldn't quite download it. So
I'm sure you got others.
Talking of others, Turkan, I have been inundated with videos, with clips, with all sorts of you, mate. So this is now becoming my favourite part of our weekly show. Let's show everyone what this week's is.
Here we go.
See, that's what I said again. If you don't drink it, then That's what about.
You don't know the words, yeah?
I don't think Tom Zanetti even knows the words to that. But good moves, great moves.
So you're listening to Tom Zanetti with your Toms on?
Yes. Yes.
Weren't you in that video, Turk?
Kind of, yeah.
What? You was singing or dancing or what, mate?
Just kind of.
Let's see how you was in that video.
Yes, Turks. Tom Zanetti here. Should have a big man, Simon. You letting me the whip for the video, bro. What's that, Turk?
You're famous, mate.
That's what I meant by kind of. He used my car for his music video, so that was a nice little message from him to say thanks.
Didn't he fancy you, mate?
I think I got cut. Yeah, I got cut. I made it down to the last 5.
he was probably scared of being overshadowed by Turk's tattoos and his charming good looks and the rest of it, mate.
Possibly. If Tom Zanetti watches the show, then it'd be great for him to come on and talk about it.
We talked about the show. We've got a great show this week. We've got lots and lots of things to get through. Loads, busy week. As I say, Mother's Day Eve episode. Coming out of lockdown, we're going to discuss a few bits in regards to certain players and how they've been getting their hair cut. We're also going to go into some of the midweek Champions League games. We've got the North London derby coming up, and we've got some big fixtures coming up. It's a really good show. Starting off, Turk, your hair looks a bit better this week, mate. You had a little freshen up.
Oh, I had to, mate. I had to have a little trim up. I mean, I couldn't bear wearing a hat doing these shows, but then also it was just weighing me down. So I've had a little trim. Not as probably as good as my barber will do it, but I've managed to do it.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a touch. My sister's part of my bubble, and she's been popping around and jumping in my garage. So all good there. Pre, you having a turn out there, mate, under that hat, or what?
Yeah, you can see it's all going a bit rough, mate. I'm not going as far as taking it off, but yeah. But look, shout out to Touch Tweener. They're Charlie's touch therapists that look after all of our athletes at One Click Sports Management. We'll have Errol on the show sometime, but just quick shout out to Touch Tweener. Got their hat on, repping the brand, mate.
Nice hat. Good brand.
Wish you gave you something else to wear on top as well, to be honest.
No, it's this big. What's wrong with all the support we can get. Well, with that in mind, we thought it was a good idea to have a little look around and see what was going on with some of the players' haircuts. There's been a considerable amount of players with some dodgy barnets during this period. Who are some of your favourites here, Turk?
Oh, I'll tell you what, mate. I mean, most recently, But then also, if you look in the past as well, with some of the hairdos and stuff. I mean, I thought they would get, I don't know, a club kind of hairdresser to come in, do a test, and trim them all up. I guess they don't get to do that then, because some of them have got some proper dodgy barnets at the minute.
Yeah. I mean, we took the liberty of posting a few of them. Let's have a little browse. So first off, we got David De Gea.
Vikings.
I'll chuck. You'd have to chuck a couple of quid at him if you see him on the street.
Well, mate, he was, like we discussed on one of the first shows, he did get done for shoplifting in the Tesco's or something, didn't he? When he first moved to United, because obviously the like 100 grand a week or whatever he was on weren't enough.
Yeah, just to cut it.
Some people like the buzz of it, don't they? I suppose. The buzz.
Do they, Glenn?
Then we got Luis Suarez.
Oh,
that is.
I actually don't mind taking my hat off now after seeing that.
Then we had Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Aubameyang looks not great. Not great at all.
Yeah, that hairline hopefully gives him a little bit of extra few inches to get a header in this start.
I thought you said that hairline's going to talk about the aerodynamics about when he's not scoring.
I think the next one's quite interesting because I assumed a few years ago he was losing his hair and he was having skinheads, but all of a sudden during lockdown, Andros Townsend grew a barnet.
My God, he's been
to Turk's motherland, isn't he?
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, he was looking not as bad as that, but he had a full head of hair, beard, when we were at the Champions League final a couple of years ago together.
It's so mad how hair can really define how someone looks, especially when you kind of grow it out like that. I mean, the fresh trim for him, he looks like a really neat, sharp, young-looking guy, and now he looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, what I did think as well, not just lockdown, with West Ham having a couple of good results and the obvious win over Tottenham, there's a couple of ringers that are not due to lockdown but can't go by the wayside. One, Joe Cole.
I remember that.
Banger.
I remember that. We also had a player called Margas, a Chilean defender.
It's like it's like what I've got to put up, mate. There we go.
Mate, this geezer was an absolute nutter. A very quick story on him. He was in the hotel because he was living in a hotel when he come over to West Ham while he settled in, and he just had enough one day, and he left. He climbed out of the hotel room the night before a game with his passport and just left and went back to Chile and went, "I'm not coming back."
That was under Redknapp, wasn't it? I think Redknapp.
Yeah, West Ham will do that to you, mate. West Ham will do that to you.
Under Redknapp. And then he come back, and to show that he was committed, he done that to his barnet.
Is that the story behind the barnet, yeah?
That's the story behind the barnet. In that game, funny enough, we beat Leeds 3-0. Quick story there for you.
Lovely, mate. Good stuff.
Moving on.
There was moving on. There was one notable entrance that wasn't anything to do with football. Diane Abbott.
I mean, the less said about that, the better.
She's not got the greatest of reputations as it is, but yeah, we thought we'd have a little recap of what was going on with some of the Barnets. I think one of them quite improved during lockdown, and then he's gone back to his old ways. I like his hair. He looks much better.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he could also be a she without that tash. But
that's something for another day, too.
Yeah, it probably sums up Liverpool's season at the moment, to be honest with you, that haircut.
Yeah, a bit unruly. Well, we thought we'd have a little recap of some of the haircuts. Most of those were from the first lockdown, and it seems to be that this time around the hairdressers are a little bit more free flowing. And they know that they've got to upkeep their appearances and whatnot. But we thought that'd be an interesting little section. Did you guys watch the Champions League over the week?
I think we're getting to that interesting part now when people actually watch it, don't we? So I think you guys probably admit as well, the early stages of it's not really the champions. It's people that are in and around it to make the numbers up. I think now, though, it's starting to get a bit serious.
You're talking about the Champions League, mate, or the Europa League? I don't know. Like Champions League, when you're normally in it, it's interesting from round one of the group stage.
Well, you say that, but then in the group stage, you've got Barcelona beating teams like 5-6-0 still. And I just think that, we'll probably talk about this further down the line as well. And look, from a West Ham point of view, if we do get in the Champions League, whoever finishes fourth, I don't think the champions of Europe, people finishing fourth, should get in the Champions League. I just don't think that. I think the champions are the champions. But look, that's a subject maybe for another day. But for me, I think it's starting to get interesting now. And the results that we had on Wednesday night and Tuesday night were good. That Porto one.
Staying on that point, mate, before we move on, have you heard about the announcement that they're actually looking to add, I'm not sure, was it 6 or 8 teams extra to the Champions League in a couple of years' time? So you'll be well up for that, won't you, Turk?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're looking at making a third section of it or something like that. Which, look, for clubs, that aren't used to getting into it, it's a great chance to try and get that football and to get the Champions League sound at your stadium. That's what I'm looking forward to if it ever happens. But
let's face it, mid-table clubs in Turk, so don't get too excited, mate.
Listen, I'm not getting excited until we're in there at the moment, and whatever happens. I'm not going to get too excited because there's a long way to go. But
because Turk knows what happens in Europe with West Ham, they get beaten by Farmers. They don't qualify.
I'm not gonna comment because listen, that team
Sharif,
when we was in
Sharif,
Europe,
mate.
It was FC Astra. They beat us 2-2. And I went to the games out there and stuff like that, but we were nowhere near ready playing European football when we got in that. We got into it because of the Fair Play Award and stuff second time round. So you've got to be ready for that. You've got to be ready to play Thursdays, Sundays, Wednesdays, Saturday, whatever. You can't go in there with the types of stuff that we have at the moment. So look, I want to get in there, but at the same time, it means that we would have to really build on that, on what we've got at the moment. But I think the Champions League should be for champions.
Yeah.
Well, Moyes is the man, mate. He's doing really well. Got to give kudos to the man.
He got Everton in the Champions League places, didn't he, at one stage?
Yeah, he did.
It was a good Everton team, though.
Yeah, he's building something nice. And whether it happens this year, it'll give us a really good platform for potentially next year as well. But for now, we've got however many games to go. We've got to take every game one at a time. And it starts better than this weekend, playing a Man United team that have got a few injuries. We've got to take the game to them. I don't fear anyone anymore. I really don't. Playing anyone, I think we can give a game. We're not going to win every game, but I really fancy us to give everyone a game. It's a good position to be in.
Did you? This isn't the West Ham show, by the way. Did you see Haaland? The Haaland penalty during the week.
Yeah, I did. I liked his reaction. I like the passion that guy's got. He's an absolute brute of a player, and I think he's absolutely quality. But that penalty decision, I think, is probably where VAR does need to come into it. And it was the right decision. The keeper did fly off the line and he did save it. But, I mean, the emotions that those fans must go through and the manager on the touchline, 1 minute you've saved it and then you go back again. I think it's tough. But we've all been there. But, again, Dortmund, outside cheeky little favourites with that guy up front? Potential.
I mean, they are a team that base it around bringing players on, and they have done for the past sort of 10 years. And if you think of even like you go back to sort of the interview with Muzzy Ozcan in regards to what he said on Dembele on one side, Emre Moore on the other side, and they was even plotting to sort of bring on the young players at that stage. Now, this is a further development of that team. You've got Marco Reus, who seems to be the stalwart of that team and never comes out of it. But it's they are always there or thereabouts. And they do have pedigree. Do you remember the Paul Lambert team that won in 1997?
Mateus Sammer.
Yeah, Sammer. Sam Arpold, Stefan Effenberg. So it's not just
Stefan Freund, mate. Stefan
Freund, yeah, yeah.
The thing is, though, the German league for me, I've never been a big fan of it, to be honest with you. I don't like
the dominance of Bayern.
I think that outside of Bayern Munich and Dortmund, even if you look at the team that Liverpool beat in midweek, Leipzig, sorry, RB Leipzig. They're second in the league, right? And Liverpool aren't Liverpool at the moment. They literally just brush past them, and I just think it says a lot about the German league. I do think outside of Bayern Munich, I don't think there's that many strong teams in there anymore. Dortmund obviously are up there as well, but outside
Leipzig
of that,
are a very good team, man. Leipzig are a very good team. You got to remember that Liverpool have put all their eggs in one basket now, and they're playing level.
But they still had a lot of players out that weren't playing Liverpool, and if memory serves me correctly, last year or the year before, Tottenham done a big job on them as well.
No, we lost to them, mate. I was out there. It was the last game before lockdown, so I went out there and the rest of it. But
you went through though, or did you?
No,
they knock you out?
We got knocked out, mate. We got knocked out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but like I said, Tottenham ain't anything to worry about.
Of course not, mate. I only got to the final a couple of seasons ago, season before. But
no one remembers a finalist. No one.
No. I do. I was there, mate. I do. Yeah.
No one remembers a finalist.
When was the last time we see West Ham in the cup final? Was that when Steven Gerrard scored that banger?
It was 2006. Yeah.
I'm assuming you're there, mate.
I was 100% there. Without going into the West Ham again, going back to Champions League,
of course, you can't relate them, can you?
You can't leave. Well, we can't talk about Tottenham either. We have to stay into the Europa League when we talk about Tottenham. So let's go to this. Talking about the Champions League.
On Thursday, that was, Glenn? Against the team that's conceded one goal in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should have been more. I really, really do. I think it should have been 3 or 4. I mean, the death there that Harry Kane would have finished. He took it round off the wing, cut inside, and he just didn't have that clinical finish at the end there. But he also had a really, really sort of positive. Did you see the free kick from Gareth Bale, by the way?
Oh, mate. Forget the free kick was good, but the cross from the outside of his left boot, as soon as he come on, Bergwijn should have put that away. But it's fine. Like Bergwijn is a player there, and he's a wicked player there. But he just needs to go. You need to go, and he gets a goal, mate. I think Lamella's playing the best he's ever played. It's only taken him like 8 years in Gareth Bale, the guy who was brought to replace, to come back to Spurs, to step up. But yeah, he's playing the best this last month. He's probably been the best he's ever been at Spurs. You've got Lucas Moura in the central role. That's doing really good as well. So no, it's going really well, mate. It's going well.
Yeah, the Lucas Moura change has been really, really impressive. And he seems to be like a dog running around chasing a bone to get that ball back. And
how high does he leap, Glenn? He's only little, mate. He don't get beat, mate.
I've always thought that. He's mad.
He's spring. Yeah. Spring. Maybe something for us to look at, mate. But look, I've just brought up some stats. We're talking about Haaland and talking about the Champions League. And have any of you guys seen like the stats that he's become the quickest player to get to 20 Champions League goals?
Yeah, I saw that.
Do you know how many games it's taken him, Turk?
Yeah, was it 14 games?
That is, mate, 14 games. That's incredible. And then, like, if you go up that list, mate, he's gone and broken, like, one of our own, Harry Kane's record of 24 games, which is nothing to be shied at. Well, because that's incredible, isn't it? That's incredible because the one after that, guys, is Karim Benzema at like 34 games. You got Lewandowski 36, Neymar 38, Raul 39, Messi 40, Mbappe 40, Henry 40. Took Cristiano Ronaldo 56 games to get 20 goals. Took Zlatan 71 games to get to 20 Champions League goals. So what that Haaland is doing, mate, that man there and the other guy that I mentioned on the list, Mbappe, obviously Mbappe and Poch and PSG knocked out Barcelona. Them two are the future lights of football, mate. They are the new Messi and Ronaldo sort of level. Obviously, both of those guys got knocked out as well. Their respective teams with Juve and Barca, obviously. And you've got these two guys at the front just killing it, man. I'm so excited to see. I put Harry Kane into that sort of category as well, mate, because you look at that boy there, Harry Kane's stats are something stupid. Like, he's played 37 games this season, or 36 games. The guy scored 26 goals and 16 assists. He's Tottenham's best striker. He's Tottenham's best midfield player. It's incredible. Like, how does he do it?
I mean, just going back to Haaland, the guy's got everything. He looks like a proper player.
He looks like the Terminator, mate.
He's got the strength. He's got the height. He's got the attitude.
He's got an arrogance about him, isn't he?
Arrogance about him. Arrogance about him. For a young kid, he's definitely got the arrogance about him. And he can do it. I mean, look, he will move from Dortmund. I'm glad that he's there, and it's good that he's learning a lot there. Because
he's got a buyout clause in there, isn't he? But I mean, can engage next season, so he'll stay there another season, maybe. I was having
this conversation with a couple of friends in the week as well. Who realistically, there's only a few teams that are going to be able to afford those types of players, because there's no money in football at the moment to be able to spend the kind of money that Haaland's going to be out for, Mbappe's going to be out for. Even Kane, going back to what you said, look, let's not beat around the bush here. His stats are fantastic as a creative striker, forward, attacker. I'd love to see him, and don't take this in the wrong way, Tottenham fans. This isn't the whole Tottenham thing, but I'd love to see how he would be in another team, just because as a main man at Tottenham, he excels. He free kicks, he takes the pens, and he can shoot from left foot, right foot, on his head. He can score any type of goal. How would he be in another team in England or in Europe? That's what I really want to see out of him. I don't doubt that he'll be good. I really do. I think he'll score goals. When you're a goal scorer, you're a goal scorer. But I would love to see him in another team, see how he gets on.
I bet you would, mate. Yeah, no, he's not going nowhere, son. Not for another season at least. Yeah, no, 100%. No, he's not going nowhere this summer. Not going nowhere this summer. And
even if you don't win it, if you don't win anything, can you finish 6th?
I could see this year being the straw that breaks the camel's back potentially.
He's so close to Jimmy Greaves' record, mate. Yeah, he's so close to it. He'll smash that next season.
Do you think that's a goal of his, or do you think winning trophies are?
No, I think definitely any football player wants to win a trophy, because at the end of the day,
no one cares about it.
No, we can't say no one cares about it. If you're that guy that holds the record for a club, who's your all-time top goal scorer at West Ham, mate?
Paulo Di Canio.
All-time top scorer, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I would have thought someone like Tony Cottee or someone back in the days. Are you talking about just Premier League years or the history of West Ham?
History of West Ham.
Oh, wow.
All-time, yeah.
That actually really shocked me, actually.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Can you just Google that quickly? Can you Google that quickly?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
I can edit this out if not, because we've got a lot of...
No, we're not editing nothing out.
No, yeah. You are editing it out, I'm telling you that. No. I'm talking about Turk. I'm talking
Premier
about
League era.
Yeah, Premier League era. Premier League era. It's
not Paulo Di Canio.
No, it's not Paulo Di Canio. Sorry. Premier League era. See, it's hard to tell with this, because Premier League era has got Tony Cottee, but he was also 10 years before the Premier League era as well.
So yeah, that's why I said Tony Cottee. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I'm talking about Premier League era, otherwise it's like a guy called Vic Watson who scored like 1 million goals a season.
Oh, sick. Okay.
I think I could see him.
Yeah. By the way, guys, it's Paulo Di Canio. No need to edit. Don't worry. It's Paulo Di Canio.
Are you checking Wikipedia, which you just edited very quickly?
No.
So when our listeners are going out there and checking it,
I don't know why I ever doubted myself. But no, Paulo Di Canio.
I can see Harry Kane going.
Mark Noble second on the list.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's some issues at that club when you got Mark Noble, your second top goal scorer.
We've
in
never
the history of the
had
Premier League.
we've never had a good striker that has stayed for a number of years. Like it's been our
that's
main problem. It's been our
I
main
can
problem.
see Harry Kane staying in the Premier League to beat Shearer's record. I can see that being a massive incentive to stay in the country, because that is a record that not many. Henry come nowhere near, and Henry was smashing it for 3-4 seasons like no other. But you can feel that if this doesn't go right this year, this might be the year that Kane then does go to make that change. Whether or not the funds are there,
I think that might be a big thing, though. The fund for this year.
Yeah, I mean there is
the sort of money that Daniel Levy would want for him. You know, you're not going to get many clubs that will spend that sort of money on someone that's Harry Kane's age when you've got the two other boys we just discussed earlier on that are like, you know, 7, 8 years, 6 years younger than you know, Kane. But also be seen, mate.
But there's only one Haaland. There's only one Mbappe.
But there are also only 2 or 3 clubs that can buy those two. So,
I mean, you got Man United, you got Man City, you got PSG, you got Real Madrid who are heavily in debt, you got Barcelona who are heavily in debt now, and then you've got some of the other clubs that are being backed as we speak. I think there is opportunity. There's not a lot of not as much money floating about, but Tottenham are up against it now financially. If you believe what you read, so I don't think it's impossible. I really don't. And apparently Tottenham are looking to offload one major player, which I can probably see being Lo Celso potentially. But
mate, I actually think, for me, I think I'm more worried. I'd be more worried about Son. I actually think Son could be the one to go. Maybe.
You get super money for him. He ain't signed that new contract yet. Changed agents for base.
And the other thing as well, guys, to remember, Kane's in his prime years now. He's 27 years old. He's got I think he's 27 years old. Realistically, to be able to take Ronaldo out of it is a little bit different. He's got 2 or 3 years in him of banging the type of goals that he's banging in, because he's not blessed with pace. I know he's got
blessed with pace, was he?
No,
and then you had someone like a Sheringham playing until he's 37. So
yeah. No, playing is different to banging in 30, 40, 50 goals a season. You know, there's a difference between playing. And plus, Sheringham worked his way down the leagues. By the time he was 36, 37, he was playing for West Ham. So, you know, the point I'm trying to make is if Kane at the top of his game, if he doesn't move this season, he probably won't get a chance to go and move to a team to win anything. And that would be a shame. Unless he wins something this year. He can still win a cup this year with you guys.
You've got an odd debate coming up, I can foresee, with Bale now really hitting it and being the top paid player at Tottenham. With Kane there, we're going to go on more into Tottenham later with the North London derby and whatnot, but you've got an option to renew, so to speak. Alistair Gold reconfirmed it the other day, with the option to extend this loan. Now, would Kane's nose be put out of joint if he's not level on par with that sort of income? I mean, I know that it's heavily subsidised, but if you're a player in your prime at a club, I can foresee that being...
Kane on this year's form, Glenn, he's earning probably about 300, 350 grand a week, mate. He's not going to be moaning because his basic's 200.
Agreed, but then you've got someone like Gareth Bale who spent half the season on the bench at 600.
No, but we pay 40% of that.
Agreed, fully agreed. Also, but then you've got would Tottenham then look to potentially take on Bale, or are we just going to loan it? I think
no. You just loan him for the one season more. If he carries on with the form that he's in at the moment, you carry on that. Of course, it's a no-brainer, mate. It's taken him this long to get hot, and he stays hot. Don't get injured. They're going to renew that loan. They've got the first option on it. You know, and he's got one more season. That's his last year at Tottenham. Last year at Real Madrid on his contract, and then he's free thereafter. So,
to be honest with you, this year and next year is probably the best you're going to get out of him. And after that, it'll be a downward. So if you can get another year out of him, that's a fantastic signing. Just in regards to, again, going back to Kane, I know we're gonna cover this when we talk about the North London derby, but as a player, and I've seen a few interviews of his recently as well, his aspirations are going to be to win the league. to win stuff with his
100%.
current team. There's no doubt about that. But there must come a time where
he needs to win trophies. If he can't win them at Tottenham, he's got to win them outside, isn't it?
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's got to be make or break in the next season or not, because next year or the year after, he's not going to go to a top team because he's not going to be the same player.
You don't think so, man?
No, not
he's 27, mate. Players going to their prime at 28. The injuries give him time to rest.
No, but every single year, his ankles are getting worse and worse. His injuries are not funny. He come off the other day. He's got an ice pack on his knee. So they're talking about whether he's going to be.
You've got a kick on an impact injury, mate.
Let's touch upon the potential injuries coming up in the North London Derby section. What I want to go back to is kind of Mbappe and the Haaland scenario, and the old guard being potentially put to one side, and your new guard of Haaland and Dortmund, and then you've got Porto there beating the old guard Juventus team. You've got in control there. You've got Alessandro Pirlo, who was a massive legend there. Towards the end of his career, he had a bit of a swan song at Juventus. He was discarded by AC Milan and then picked up by Juventus again, and then formed a crazy partnership with Paul Pogba. But he's gone back in there as manager. Pre, what's your thoughts in regards to how he's picked up as manager there? Because what I want to touch upon is sort of returning legends and club legends as managers. How do you think that tends to go, and what sort of the offshot is with Pirlo?
Oh, like with Pirlo, I think, he was brought in as the under-23 manager towards the end of last season while Sarri was still there. So they knew what they were doing, like the club. They wanted to bring him in as manager, and they were going to get rid of Sarri because it wasn't like, Juventus is one of the biggest clubs in the world. So with Pirlo coming in, just like with other players that are going back to their former clubs, like Frank Lampard was, who was successful for the first season, but when they made him spend 200 million, that pressure that brings at a club like at Chelsea, it wasn't very good for him. But then you're going to have someone like, Steven Gerrard that's being prepped for the Liverpool job. So it does work. Some players who are big characters, such as the Steven Gerrards. When we were growing up, we saw like the Steven Gerrards, John Terrys. They're all in management. They're all coaching. I think it can work. I think they bring a wealth of experience. But then, do they then, if like in Lampard's case, does he lose his legacy at Chelsea because of what happened? Because they've gone and sacked him, and he's only been there a year and a half, or do fans not think about that? And
I think that has soured the relationship. I really, really do. And I think Lampard was kind of almost godlike there at one stage, despite going to Man City towards the tail end of his career. But you've got sort of the Roman Abramovich ruthlessness there, and it seems like Tuchel is doing an amazing job. But you've got other examples.
He started off so good, didn't he?
They look solid as you like.
10, 11 games in a row, they've just won all of them, innit? Or undefeated. They've got a couple of draws, but they've been really good.
It's not the most exciting of styles, but they're getting results, and they've got an amazing squad there. They've got an amazing squad there.
Well, I think that's what the whole thing was. They had the squad. The problem with Lampard was that they had too many new players that he had to bed in and to gel in. And I think that does take time. But they do. They play keep possession football. Again, I think if there was fans in the stadium, I think the fans would get a bit frustrated with that. And I think that they'd have the pressure to urge them to get forward a little bit quicker, because as fans, we do that. We want to push it a little bit further. But you can't take, what he's done to it. But going back to what you just said about that, if we look back at some of the players that have had legendary statuses at their clubs and moved on into management, there's a high percentage of people that it hasn't worked out for. And I think that their legacy definitely does take an effect there. I mean, even Solskjaer at the moment, the fans absolutely loved him. And there's still he's probably won them over a lot more this season. But at Man United, you don't win fans over for finishing second or third. He's got to win something. So this year, that Europa League has to be a priority. And even more, maybe the FA Cup, and finish second. But I'm trying to think of a case where a player has succeeded. Can you guys think of a player at the moment where has gone on?
You've got two that glare out. You've got Zidane at Real Madrid, who was obviously Zidane. That's all you need to say about him. But then you've got him going on and becoming probably one of the most successful managers. Whether or not you think he's the best manager, he won those Champions Leagues consistently on a yearly basis, pretty much with an amazing team. But you don't do that if you're just a nobody. Whether or not that was all his doing or the squad that was assembled, that's a different matter. But you've got one more closer to home. You've got Scotty Parker, who was a Fulham player towards the end of the season. Yeah. And it looks like he's really acclimatised. He's got them promoted. And then they're doing okay in the Premier League. I think, as we keep on mentioning, they've got such a team ethic around them currently that they are the ones that stand out as probably the team that are going to escape that relegation zone potentially.
So, Glenn, when you're talking about someone like Scotty Parker, even I mentioned Steven Gerrard before, both of these guys were incredible midfield generals. That's the way to explain them, They were proper generals, bossing the midfield, able to do everything, probably a massive voice in each dressing room. But they've also then gone and, they managed, like Scotty Parker was the under-18s manager at Tottenham for a couple of seasons before he, left, and he's taken quite a few of the people from Spurs with him into a first team. So, that's a step up for everyone there. Steven Gerrard done the same with Liverpool, mate. He was, their gaffer at the under-18 level there. So he's experienced that, and, with all the experience they get with all the managers they played. Scotty Parker's played under prime Jose Mourinho, the special one. When he got signed, okay, he didn't play much, but he's still getting trained by him, seeing all of his techniques, and he's played for a variety of great managers, and all those experiences and everything put together like that all builds towards it. But then that's experience of being a player and learning the coaching from great managers and influences, and that's we all should be doing as human beings, taking best qualities of everyone and taking little bits of it to improve ourselves. But then you have to go and do the hard yards by going and actually same with Zidane, mate. You talk about Zidane. Zidane was the manager of the Castilla at Real Madrid as well, so that's definitely an important part of it.
I think it's all about timing, isn't it, as well? Because I think that Lampard got the Chelsea job too early. I think he done well at Derby. Look, he didn't even get Derby promoted. So he wasn't.
And he had Mason Mount in the Championship.
Yeah, he had Mason Mount in the Championship and a few others. And look, he done well because Derby are a big club. Let's not look at that. They fill their stadium out. They're a big club. All right, they didn't do well in the last outing in the Premier League, but he didn't even get them up. And then he got the Chelsea job, I think, too early. And I think that a good example of this moving forward would be Steven Gerrard has done an absolute fantastic job at Rangers. But I think most people would agree that Liverpool job, if it come about right now, would be too soon for him, because managing Rangers, with all due respect, managing Liverpool were two different things. Two absolute mountains of clubs, two absolute huge clubs, but very, very different. Managing Liverpool in the Premier League, potentially Champions League football, to managing Rangers. And I think that he will potentially one day be that manager, but it'd be the wrong time to do it now. And I think a lot of these clubs that's happened. Like
if he gets offered the job and he doesn't take it, will that chance come again in the future? That's the problem, exactly, bro. You have to take. You have to take that up. Like, I've got a player.
Where do you go? Where do you go from Rangers? Do you stay there? Do you stay there and run the risk of not having as good?
Do you go to another Premier League team?
I don't think you do that. I don't think you do that as a Steven Gerrard.
He worked for Brendan Rodgers, right? Brendan Rodgers left Liverpool under a bit of a shell. He done really well there. Went to Celtic, and then he's come back as Leicester manager. And I think he's not only bought a team. Okay, they've won the Premier League consistently. They are a good team. They've got good players. And I think that he would need to come into the Premier League and manage a top 10 club before he makes that move to see what it's like. Because Scottish football in the Premier League is completely different. Again, with all due respect for that league. But going back to this, someone like Alan Shearer, who's a cult hero at Newcastle, he got given the job under some difficult circumstances. His job was, you've got 10 games or 8 games, you've got to keep us up.
Save the club you love, yeah.
You've got to save the club that you love. And unfortunately, went down to the last game of the season. I remember it clearly. They lost to Villa. and they went down. He didn't get given a chance to bring them back up. And then that was it. He's never managed anyone else ever since. Could he be a good manager? I don't know. I think he's a great pundit. But I think these people, some of them have been chucked into it too soon. And
another example you've had of Ryan Giggs at Man United. Man United were in a bit of turmoil at one stage. They drafted Giggs in. Giggs is now obviously at Wales. Had a bit of an up and down time with Wales, but he's never really had another chance anywhere else. You had Gareth Southgate, who had the same sort of thing. He was drafted in, had a bad run at Middlesbrough, it was. And then he got appointed as under-21s, and then he's worked his way back up. So there is an avenue, but it's few and far between when you've initially failed as one of these returning sort of club heroes. Another example there, you got Rangers with Ali McCoist, who was obviously one of the biggest club legends there. He took them over in, I think it was a 4th tier, brought them back up to sort of championship level there in Scotland, and then somebody else, I think it was Stuart McCall, wasn't it, had to take over from him because he was deemed not good enough to take him back to the Premier League. So it's a mixed bag with it. But I do think chairmen sometimes take on these former club legends to get the fans back behind them, because there is that initial burst and that initial excitement of, like, he was an amazing player. Let's get him back in and get the fans back on side and get everyone united.
Then we're going back a few years now, like at the start of like the ENIC sort of regime 20 years ago this week, that Daniel Levy and ENIC, took over Tottenham Hotspur. We had George Graham in as manager just before he came in, and what's the first thing he done, mate? He got rid of George Graham, who, with all his Arsenal links and stuff like that, I was like, everyone was like, oh, how can we have him as manager? But he won us a trophy that time. But as soon as he did the first chance to get rid of him, got rid of him, and he brought in Glenn Hoddle, because Glenn Hoddle is God, right? For Tottenham fans, especially of an era a little bit older than us and stuff like that. Obviously, we've seen what he's done. But again, he's done that to get all the Tottenham fans on side. Look, we've got rid of the Arsenal guy, we've brought in the Tottenham legend. And again, I remember that Glenn Hoddle team, because he was doing fantastic at Southampton before he came in. I remember I used to work at Selfridges, and he was in there buying his daughter some boots, and I had a chat with him. I said, "Come on, mate, you coming home or what?" And he goes, "I can't really comment on that." And like a few months later, he did come back in, and it didn't go great, did it? It didn't go great,
and Ozzy Ardiles as well. Ozzy Ardiles, again, he was one of the main guys of that era, and then he come back as a manager, and his philosophy.
But in my eyes, Ozzy Ardiles' team, mate, that's what made me really, really love Tottenham. It didn't matter where we were in the league or what, to me, really. Yeah, that Popescu, Dimitrescu, Klinsmann.
What the Fab Five, Nicky Barmby, you had Ili Dimitrescu, you had.
It was mad. It didn't matter. That's what you get. Especially with when you support a team like Tottenham or West Ham and clubs like that. It's really easy for other clubs that have they support a team that's won loads and loads of silverware or winning it on a consistent basis or whatever it is. And they're like, yeah, but you haven't won anything, or you haven't done this, or you haven't. Mate, I couldn't give a fuck. I couldn't give a fuck. It'd be great to be winning all those. Mate, it's memories. It's joy,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look.
Memories, joy, happiness.
At West Ham, you had Alan Kirbishley, who was West Ham player amongst other clubs. I wouldn't call him a club hero as a player, but did you feel at the time that was kind of a settling because it was one of your own? I mean, he's from Forest Gate. Did that help stabilise the club at that stage, or what was your thoughts?
The thing that happened with Alan Kirbishley was that when he was at Charlton and doing a very, very good job, we approached him initially to come on and take the West Ham job, and he rejected it, which goes back to what Pre was saying about does the opportunity come back again. A lot of West Ham fans got upset about that because they were like, hang on here, this is your chance to manage your club. We know he's a West Ham fan. He was doing brilliantly at Charlton, and he decided to reject us. And right or wrong, he did. However, fast forward a few years, he got that chance again, and he did come back in. The problem with Kirbishley was when he come in, he inherited a club that was on a down, if you like. We wasn't in the best kind of place. Looking at it, I loved that little era because for me, one of the best seasons we had, which is a bit weird, was the season that we stayed up and the last game at Old Trafford. And I remember Alan Kirbyshire being a big part of that survival, especially at last 10, 15 games. You could tell the guy was emotional every single game. He was a West Ham fan. So with that in mind, I quite liked, and I liked Alan Kirbyshire at West Ham. And being a West Ham fan, you get close to people like that. But I think what the problem was he rejected West Ham first time round, and I think a lot of people didn't forget that. Why did you reject us? But look, he had his reasons for that. In my opinion, he kept West Ham up, and he done a brilliant job at that time.
Nice. Well, as we mentioned, there is a standout game this weekend, a rivalry. We thought it was nice to look upon some of the other rivalries, not just the North London derby. We've got a couple coming up, and then we're going to go on to our standard weekly odds and predictions there. What are some of the standout sort of rivalries across the world for you there, Pre? I know we've got you've got North London derby. You've got the Old Firm, which is one of the most fierce one. Can you think of any others that stand out?
I've got a friend, right? He's not into football at all. He's actually one of my brother's friends. And he went travelling around South America. And he sent pictures and called up, and I tried to get those pictures and some videos of it. His first ever game he ever went to was in Argentina. River Plate versus Boca Juniors, mate. Oh. And I think that was some sort of landmark sort of game. It's a landmark game anyway, but it was playing for something. And he goes, that atmosphere. For me, I've seen it. Like, I don't know if you've watched some of these gangs in football and their programs and stuff like that. In Argentina, mate, it's different. It's different. Yeah. It's not fighting down Tottenham High Road with the West Ham boys or arranging. Mate, they're putting out guns and they're shooting each other. If the result's not going your way, they're letting off. They're kicking off so hard in the stadium, so the game gets cancelled. And your team doesn't lose that game. So
the reason behind that particular one is the class difference. So Boca Juniors are the working class, and River Plate are the upper class. So then you've got a complete disconnection in regards to the two sort of tribes. Really, you've got resent, and then you've got pity almost, which is why that's such a clash. And that is
then,
one of the most.
Again, we'll come back to Europe in a minute, but then, like, when I was out in Brazil a few years ago, I was at a Corinthians Sao Paulo game at the Corinthians Stadium, and mate, I've never seen a set of fans. They only let a few of the Sao Paulo fans in because they don't let the segregation and stuff like that. It's only a very small number, but. They just don't stop, mate. They conceded a penalty and they carried on singing like they had won a penalty. And it's just mad. Like, it's just different. It's like, when we're talking about fans and atmospheres and stuff like that. If any of you boys followed any of the cricket recently, and obviously there weren't many fans in the stadiums out in India and stuff. But, mate, the cricket in India, like Kolkata, you've got 120,000 people at Eden Park or Eden Gardens, more like, and it's incredible, playing under that pressure and playing, that buzz. Like Jose Mourinho said in his press conference yesterday that, for the North London derby, even though he's playing away at Arsenal, he goes, I want to play these games at the Emirates, but with Arsenal fans there, because the passion, the chills you get down your spine when they're coming out of that tunnel, that brings something else into football. And I really can't wait for that to return. Like all of us, and like we all want fans back in stadia. But coming back to Europe, that's a massive one. You've got the.
You've got Liverpool, Man United.
Every country we talk about, there's massive rivalries in all of them. And for us, it might not be, but then I've got friends of mine who are Marseille fans. They fucking hate PSG. They detest them, mate. properly. That's a proper derby out there because they still talk about it now. But have PSG win the Champions League? Well, they won it. No, they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, look, a derby can mean so much to different people. Sometimes it's about class, like you just mentioned. Sometimes it's about religion. Sometimes it's about logistics with stadiums. I mean, I've been to Notts County and Nottingham Forest, and their stadium you can actually see from one to the other. Liverpool, Everton, obviously we know what that's like. With West Ham, our main rivals all over the years have been Millwall for a number of different reasons, going back years. But also, obviously, rivalry could be anyone in London. Now, for me personally, West Ham Crystal Palace, for example, is a London derby. I don't get half as excited about West Ham Crystal Palace as I do as West Ham Arsenal or West Ham Tottenham, West Ham Chelsea. So there's different rivalries in that respect as well. And logistics as well, like where people live. You can have rivalry with people because you mix with Tottenham fans or Arsenal fans, you go to school with them and stuff. So derbies are mad. I think you're right, Pri. I think overseas, some of the derbies are ridiculous. I've been to some in Turkey, and I wouldn't even try to explain
I'd love. They're jumping up and down, mate. He looks so sick. Mate, I remember that. I remember Tottenham playing Besiktas back in the days. I can't remember. And mate, you're just watching it. You've got the whole fucking stand.
It's just rocking
down, and you're thinking, right, that stand's going to collapse. How is that stand? How they're standing up is
exactly that.
And with my job, like when I first started in the industry 5 years ago, we've done a lot of this. Going around places, going to different countries, meeting clubs. While you're at the club, obviously you go and catch a game, and you see it from a different eye because you're normally at the centre of the pitch. You're normally within the boardroom, or you're within, where the club delegates sit because you're with people from the club, and you're not actually within the fan base. And even again, I've got friends of mine with the stadium seat behind the background. I sit bang on halfway in the upper, like right next to the press box, to see the whole pitch. It's the best view of the game because, for me, I watch football a little bit differently to, we all have the banter on here, but I'm watching who's doing well, what they're doing off the ball. I look at it from a different point of view because we're seeing what people put into the game. But not saying that other people don't, but it's like when you're just a fan, you're just consumed by winning and the singing and the passion and my Tony, my sons are actually at Montreal Camp. He hates sitting with me at where we sit. He goes, "No, mate, I want to be in the south. I want to be. That's where the atmosphere is. That's where I want to be."
Listen, I've had my season ticket for donkey's years, and I keep getting people asking me to go up and sit in the corporate seats and all that. It don't appeal to me. I like being in with the fans. I like getting an elbow to the head every now and again when we've got a corner or scored a goal. Sitting up there for me, it's not the same. I'd love to do it, of course, but probably not when I go and watch West Ham. I like going to sit in corporate boxes, maybe for other teams, and like you said, soak it all in and watch the game for other reasons. But I like being in the stands. I like being with your mates and enjoying that. But look, a quick question to our listeners and people that are viewing this as well. Why don't you comment and tell us who your favourite derby is? Tell us what games you've been to that really stand out, especially north of the border. The Rangers Celtic. We don't need to know too much about that. But anyone's got any stories? Please do comment and put that to the show, and we can discuss that again next week.
Yeah, we touch upon the Turkish sort of rivalries with Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, and we had a really, really sort of well thought of Fenerbahce fan who's quite influential with the Fenerbahce transfers. And we didn't actually get a chance to play this footage of that rivalry with one Graham Souness.
Galatasaray kazanıyor.
Ta ki sahanın ortasına depar atmaya başlayıncaya kadar. İşte Fenerbahçe stadın ortasına diktiği bu bayrakla bir anda kalbini fethetti sarı kırmızılı taraftarların. O artık bir kahramandı ve Ulubatlı Sunus diye anılmaya başlandı.
Do you want me to translate that? It basically, in a nutshell, just said by the minute that Souness put that flag into the middle of the stadium, he'd just become an absolute cult hero and a legend. Because the story that goes by that as well, he didn't know it was going to have the same effect as what he had. He was getting a lot of abuse leading up to the game. He did that with a view of keeping things quiet, but they still talk about it today. And I mean, I'm surprised they got out of the country, to be honest with you.
Mate, talking about Turkey, I wanted to get this in last week, but obviously it was difficult to get anything in sort of in the last show. But talking about Fenerbahce and experiences for the players and how it is, like Gregory Van der Wiel went out there a few years ago, and after a game, they thought, yeah, what we'll do, we'll go into a local restaurant for a munch. And him, Rose, and a close friend of mine, Hakeem, that lives with him, they've all gone into this restaurant, and I've got Hakeem. I first saw it on his Snapchat, he was putting it up, and it looked all quite cool. And I FaceTimed him just to talk to him. It got to a stage about an hour after it that they were actually quite scared of all the staff and all the attention they were getting from the Turkish, the guys in the Turkish restaurant, because they were so overwhelmed that he's come into a restaurant to come and munch. They were just being so caring and loving and catering, but they were just on them constantly, and they couldn't wait to get out there, and they were stuck in that restaurant for about 3.5 hours, and he was saying after about an hour and a half, it was really uncomfortable for Europe. Even though Turkey's in Europe, but it's a different sort of Europe, and it's more like an Asian Europe. The sort of there's more of an Asian mentality rather than your Western European sort of mentality. And they were honestly, mate, they left there. They were actually scared, which is you can't tell someone how to feel or whatever, and that's how they felt. And going back to Greg, he invested some money out there and he got knocked by someone. That's a different story. But just saying that again, cultures and and we can maybe do a segment on a future show with this, where players trying to get involved with fans or getting involved with the general public and how that fares for them, and how probably that's become less and less over the years, because back in the days, you get the players that finish the game and probably go to the pub across the road and have a beer with everyone. So that's never going to happen anymore, is it? But yeah, no. Can you imagine how they felt, or the sort of happiness the Turkish restaurant had with these guys coming in there, but then how overboard they went with just fucking not letting them have a decent lunch together?
Yeah, and the mentality across Europe in football as well can be very, very different. I mean, just touching on Turkey, it is very, very different out there.
Talking about Turkey, there we go. Look, Saka water.
And other waters are also available, which is perfect time to move on for that game.
Perfect time. We're going to talk about Saka next in our North London derby section. Huge game. I think it's actually a bigger game potentially for Tottenham, because you've got Arsenal there concentrating on some of the other sort of sides of qualifying for Europe and whatnot. Pre, how do you see this one going, mate?
I think this is, like I said, it's a massive game, and for me, for Tottenham, it's huge. It's quite similar to the Liverpool game about 7-8 games ago, or a little bit longer than that, when that was a massive game. Tottenham win that game. They're back on the run again, but they lost it. They then went on to lose 5 out of 6 Premier League games, which is incredible to get 3 points out of a potential, what's 5 times 6? Yeah. Yeah, 30 odd games. That's 27 points dropped, mate. That's mad. It's not okay. You're never going to win all of them, but I think it's a similar sort of thing. Tottenham have just come through. They've just won 5 games in a row, and Turk was right. We were having a little bit of banter before the show started. But who have you played, sort of thing. But it doesn't matter with Tottenham, mate. Tottenham is the sort of team that they'll get the fucking result against the big team, and then the team that they're meant to beat or they're expected to beat, they'll get a draw against or they'll lose, and that happened in that game. Run of games where they were 5 or 6. So again, this game they've won 5 games in a row. They go into it in great form. The team. Everyone's back now. There's no excuses anymore. Everyone's firing. Everyone's back. Gareth Bale's got his mojo back. You've got the dream 3-11 up, dream 3 players up there. You've got Kane, Son, Bale up there with someone like Lucas at the moment that's playing in the number 10 role. You've got the boys in midfield and Dembele, Højbjerg just holding it together. You've got Reguilon back, who's just Davis is a good player and he played really well on Thursday, but Reguilon just gives you something else. Serge Aurier, he's back. He's different gravy. Matt Doherty or Gary Doherty, Ginger Penne, whatever you want to call him. Thanks for making that little segment of it. It's great, the bloopers. But the team, Davison Sanchez, I think if they win this Sunday, I see an incredible end to the season. I think momentum. Football's all about momentum, and this is when you want your momentum. When you've got potentially, in the Premier League, what's Tottenham played? 27 games to date. They've got 11 more games to go in the league, but Tottenham's already played 40 games. They've played the most games in Europe. Hopefully, there's another 18 games to play for Tottenham. They've got the Cup final. They've got the Europa League if they get to the final of that. That's potentially, instead of 11 games, they've got 18 games more to play. So, look, it's massive. It could be massive. But then they lose the game. And what's going to happen? Is it going to happen what happened in Liverpool? They're going to lose their mojo and then lose 3-4 games in a trot. You never know. So Tottenham have to win that game.
Guys, we've got a message for some questions just quickly on this particular game, and it was actually it's from Mark, who's a Palace fan, who's a listener to the show. He's asked, Glenn and P would like to know if finishing above, if you would take beating Arsenal but finishing below 5th.
Nah, I'd lose to Arsenal and finish top 4.
Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, if you lost to Arsenal in one fixture and end up finishing above them in the league, then you've got to take that. I think that's the only way. I mean, bragging rights at the end of the season. We've had a good run of results against Arsenal so far, so finishing above them in the league at the end of the year, that's the trophy. That's a North London derby trophy, so to speak. Above them.
No, is it? Mate, they made a massive thing out of it. They called it the St. Tottenham's Day or whatever they used to do. And, we've finished above them every season for the last 4 seasons. So
yeah,
what?
They go and finish above Tottenham this season, and they've had the, so to speak, unless we win a trophy, a more successful season than us.
I don't know, man. For me, that really bothered me. It was great
on the day
first season.
On the day,
definitely.
It does. But over the course of the season, I'd much rather finish above them. Much rather. As a neutral Turk, how do you interpret this game going? Because it does seem to be that Arsenal, for me, as a Tottenham fan, it seems to be that Arsenal have sort of stabilised where they was heading downwards at the early part of the season. They seem to have stabilised and stabilised that ship, whereas Tottenham seem to be on an upwards trajectory as we speak. Do you see that in the same sort of way, or am I seeing that as on a bias type of
No, look, let's face it, Arsenal shouldn't be where they are in the league. This is a club that don't owe any money on their stadium or have made loads, they've got money. They've got good enough players, but this is again a conversation for another day. I was talking about, I don't know how many I would take in the West Ham starting lineup. Maybe one, maybe Saka, or maybe Aubameyang up front because we don't have any strikers. Outside of that, the Arsenal at the moment.
You wouldn't have Leno over your keeper?
No, really? No.
Fabianski's been
not
really...
at all. Fabianski's been brilliant.
Asking the question, mate.
I guess Fabianski's been solid for us for the last 3 years. For me, the Arsenal team at the moment, they shouldn't be where they are. They don't like to be where they are because they're going for a change at the moment where I think they try to make them like a Man City overnight. It's not going to happen, right? And along the way, this for them, I think, is one of the biggest games now because without the fans in the stadium, they've got to go on and they've got to show that they're not as far behind Tottenham as the league table suggests. Okay, I think even if they win on Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, they're still going to be, I think, something like, is it 5, 6 points behind you guys? 4 points, whatever it is.
They'll still be like four, 5 points behind us.
That's not good enough for Arsenal Football Club.
With a game in that,
I think you played the same games. I think you both played 27 games, so it'll be 28 games.
Right, okay.
That's not good enough for Arsenal Football Club. Now, the bottom line is, as a neutral, if you like, Arsenal need to be back where they need to be, but they can't get there overnight, and they need to earn that. Going back to your discussions, it's a bit of a tough one because I think Spurs over the last 4 or 5 years have clearly shown that they've overlapped Arsenal, sorry. But Arsenal have won more trophies.
Yeah.
So when you measure in success, Arsenal have been more successful over the last few years. And the next 2 or 3 years are going to be really important for both Arsenal and Tottenham. But this game, I think, is going to be one of the most important to see how far Arsenal and Tottenham are away from each other. And I personally, I think it's going to be a draw. But I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a really good game. Tottenham are on the up. But it's a good test for Tottenham as well.
Arsenal going to be up for it, isn't it? Arsenal going to be so up for it. You know, it doesn't matter. They've got the foreign players that don't understand North London derby, etc.
Yeah,
but they will be up for this.
One thing I want to add to that as well, which we haven't discussed. Arsenal went and beat Olympiacos on Thursday night 3-1. Olympiacos have not lost a home game in, I think it's 13 games or something, 30 European games, whatever it might be. And they've gone there and they've beaten 3-1, right? Okay. If they can take that form into the weekend and the next 2 or 3 games, Arsenal will be in and around that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th positions, right? Where it's still not good enough for Arsenal Football Club. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be up for it on the weekend. They've got nothing else. This is a big, big game. Can Spurs match them? And you've got all your players back pretty much as well. So it's lined up to be a fantastic game. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it myself.
It's going to be a 0-0 ball draw now.
I'm not.
You say with the West Ham team that you would only take 1 or 2 of their players, and sitting here as a Tottenham fan, I'm kind of thinking the same sort of thing. I can't really think of you haven't had Partey hit the ground running.
He's a baller though, man. He's such a great player, man.
Yeah, but look, even in the Tottenham midfield, you know, you guys always rave about Holberg. And these two at the moment, I wouldn't have Thomas Partey in front of them at all.
No, at the moment you wouldn't.
And if you go through their team, apart from Tierney, who I think is
he's incredible.
He's a very, very good left back. Yeah, he is. And then you work yourself through and you think, who would you take? I rewind. Yeah, that's the one that comes to my mind. If I rewind back 5-10 years, and I said, who do I want from the Arsenal team to fit into the West Ham team? I would have taken the starting 11.
That's more a case of how much, you know, West Ham have progressed, because what it is, pal, is there's so much more money in football now. Everyone's got money. Before, the money was just at the teams that were either winning stuff, like the Premier League and stuff, or whoever came in with the sugar daddies.
Now, West Ham are not competing with Arsenal on the financial side. You can't. We're not going to pay 70 million for a Pepe type of player, but we signed Souček for 15 million.
But who's had a better 45 million for what's his name? Or
for Haller.
Yeah, for 45 for Haller, 36 for Felipe Anderson. Yeah, no, what I'm trying to say, could you ever have imagined West Ham signing players for that sort of money? Let's forget about if they're successful or not. That's mad money, you know? That's nuts.
Yeah, but look at the success that West Ham have had in the transfer market with Haller, with Anderson. Those two, you cannot say they've been successes. Whereas you sign clever signings such as Bowen or Dawson currently. Those are
the right back.
Even Ben Rama, you know, people like that planning for the future. We've had a great recruitment. Don't get me wrong, but going back to Arsenal, I think that they have added players that are just decent players. There's no worldies in. There's no fantastic players.
They've added a lot of Kia players, mate. Players that play for Kia, mate. And that's the whole political side of football.
Yeah, you look at
That's David Luiz, that's Willian, that's Cedric Suarez. They signed when he was injured at Southampton. They gave him a 2-3-year contract.
He couldn't get in the Southampton team. He couldn't get in the Southampton team.
Then he won. He won stuff with Portugal, and he's Portuguese international right back. So he's not a bad player. But what I'm trying to say, these things happen. Like depending on who the sport director is, or depending on who the agent is. Again.
Yeah,
Should I hold back? Should I hold back? Should I hold back? No, I shouldn't, because it happens, mate. Once your man's in the club, mate, you're taking all your players there because they're getting signed. You've got someone like William at 32 years old. He's a good player and he's coming to a bit of form now, but he's got a 3-year contract at 32.
Listen, the Arsenal that we grew up with, which you guys would have absolutely hated because of how successful they were. Yeah. That's in the past now, and they've got a lot of work to do to get up there. Forget the fact that we're above them or whatever. Blah blah blah. This is Arsenal Football Club. They're absolutely huge. So going into this weekend, it's a big game for both teams, because I think that if Spurs can come through this weekend with a win, then I agree they've turned a massive corner, and what a great finish to the season they've got a chance of having. But personally, Arsenal are going to make it tough. It's going to be a good game. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Predictions, boys. What do you reckon?
I want Arsenal to win.
Said draw. Of course, you're Arsenal. You're a West Ham fan. You're a kid.
The worrying thing was, as we mentioned earlier, Harry Kane coming off, ice pack on knee. Is that just something he now deals with? Knocks and bruises at the end of every kind of game and lives through. It seems to be Mourinho's managing the injuries.
Life of a footballer, mate.
Agreed.
I thought, I don't know many footballers that play at 100%. I generally don't see many footballers that play at 100%. All of them are playing at least with some little niggle or something going on within their bodies and stuff like that, And again, you could see the tackle. I think what actually hurt, it was an impact injury where, it was a bad tackle. They kicked. They couldn't get anywhere near us. So what they done, and then there was a penalty. There was they were kicking our players all over the place. They got 5 or 6 yellow cards in the second half. But that tackle on Harry Kane, that was just a high tackle on his knee. They got a yellow card for it. It wasn't no worse than that. But what it was, after he got the tackle, he dropped on that same knee where all his body weight went on it. So that's the only real doubt. But then,
is he fit? Is he fit for
tonight? Yeah. Jose said he'll be ready. Someone like Harry Kane, who's the goal scoring record, he's got against Arsenal, just full stop. But against Arsenal,
he's going to want to play against the team that he supported as a kid, isn't he? He's going to want to. He's an Arsenal fan. He's going to want to.
I'd love 11 Arsenal fans playing for Tottenham if they were Harry Kane's, mate. Trust me, no problem.
What about Sol Campbell talking about that as well?
No, let's not talk about Sol. You've sworn on my show. So,
lovely. Got the Gooners.
I mean, personally, I think a 2-1 win. Let's get on to the fixtures odds for this week. So coming up, do we have you for enough time here, my friend?
Yes, mate. We can run through them. No problem at all. Well, actually, if you boys want to take over and do your thing, guys, thank you very much for joining us this Saturday. These two fine gentlemen are going to take you through all the fixtures. I'm sure Turk's going to say West Ham are going to win 10-0 and Tottenham are going to lose 10-0, and it'll be really good.
All the best, Have a good weekend, my friend. See you soon.
Bye, gents. Love you.
There we go.
Right, Glenn, what we got on the odds here? So Leeds and Chelsea. Is that the 12:30 on? That's 12:30
today. Saturday. We've got Leeds at home versus Chelsea. Good game. Love watching Leeds. Chelsea seem to be robot German style machines at the minute, churning out results. What do you think here, mate?
Well, having seen Leeds on Monday night against us, I think Leeds were the better side for the majority of that game. I think that we've said it all year. What Leeds is going to turn up? I think Chelsea will frustrate Leeds because I think they'll keep the ball, which not a lot of teams do against Leeds when they bomb forward. I think it's a tough one to predict. So when I get into that predicament, I always go for a draw. So I'm going to go for a draw for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm feeling a 1-0 Chelsea. I think it's quite a standard scoreline at the minute. I think if Leeds don't get their tails up to start off with, generally, they struggle to kind of keep it up towards the end of the game. I think it might be a tight one, and then Chelsea nick it at the end there. So you got 8-11. The odds sort of suggest along what I'm kind of thinking there. You got Palace versus West Brom there, the standard 3 o'clock kickoff, which doesn't happen too much now on a Saturday. Not the most exciting looking of games. Palace have turned a bit of a corner, got a couple of results lately. Benteke seems to be scoring a couple. But you've got Allardyce there. Do you see anything other than a board draw here, Turk?
Well, let's face it, if West Brom want to do anything about trying to stay up, this is the game they've got to win. Yeah. You've got to win these types of games. They've seemed to have done all right around the teams around them. They've been nicking draws, but draws ain't good enough anymore. They've got to go and win. I think Palace got Zaha back. He obviously got a run out in the week against Spurs. He's going to be a massive, massive player for them, and they don't tick without him. So I think that he'll be quite influential in that. I'm going to go for a West Brom win here. I think that Allardyce used to manage Palace, and I think he's got a little bit of a grudge against them as well. This is do or die. This is their cup final, and I think that Palace are safe. So I don't think they've got a lot to pay for. I'm going to go for a West Brom win here. I think I'm going to go for a little cheeky 2-1.
I can see where you're thinking there. Yeah. Then we go on to Everton 5:30 at home against Burnley. Burnley have strung together some really good results lately. You got 5-6 there. The home win being Everton. You got 10-3 Burnley away, and then 5-2 the draw. I fancy a score draw here with Everton and Burnley. I think Burnley do not lie down. Everton look to take the lead early. What are your thoughts, Eto?
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. Do you know what? If Burnley were at home, I would have even gone as far as saying I think Burnley can nick it. Everton at home are a very strong team, and Burnley just ain't the same away. They turned up at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, got turned over 4-0, and then they're not the same away, but at home they look strong. I really do want Burnley to nick something from this. I just can't see it, but if I've got any chance of it, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Lovely. Yeah, I think a score draw here. I think that's 5-2 there at a minimum. Then you've got Man City away at Fulham here. Man City, having lost against United, then picked up a good win in the week. I can't see anything, although I like watching Fulham, I can't see anything other than both teams. I don't think Fulham will score more than one, but I can see City scoring more than 2 goals here. What are you thinking, Ito?
Yeah, do you know what? Fulham have done all right against a lot of the so-called big boys, if you like. They beat Liverpool last couple of weeks ago, last week. It's a tough one because they're fighting for their lives. And although Man City, look, we know that there's a very high chance Man City have already won the league, but they've got other things on their mind. And I think the second leg of the Champions League coming up as well might make a difference in the week. Look, I'm hoping Fulham can nick something. I really do. But I think if Man City score early on, it can end up being a 2-0 game. If Fulham can hold out, the longer they hold out, they could potentially nick a draw. But I've got to say City win.
I think that'll be the game plan, wouldn't it? Try and start Man City, and I can't see anything other than Man City winning. Even though it might have been the kick up the arse that they might have needed with the Man United loss to give them a bit more of an emphasis to ram it home towards the end of the season. Then we pop on to Sunday's fixtures here. We've got Sunday, the 12 o'clock midday game. You've got Southampton versus Brighton, talking about sort of rivalries there. That's a coastal derby. You've got Southampton at home. You've got Brighton away. You've got 2-1 the home, 6-4 away, and 21-10 the draw there. Southampton are funny. They're either on form or they absolutely capitulate, which you've been doing lately. And Brighton have been quite consistent all year. What do you think in regards to this, mate?
I actually watched the reverse fixture to that game, and Brighton absolutely battered Southampton, but ended up losing, if memory serves me right. Again, I quite like Brighton. I do like the way that they've been approaching the season. They've got a few good players that can change games. I like Sonny March. Gross is a good player. Southampton did all right for themselves against Man City, and they did pick up a result, obviously, the week before. I think this is going to be a score draw as well, mate. I think Southampton are a good side. I don't think they should be where they are in the league. Let's face it, they were top of the league in November.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a score draw, mate.
Yeah, I fancy double chance on this, either Brighton or a draw. So then we go on to the 2 o'clock there. Leicester at home against Sheffield United. Personally, can't see anything other than a Leicester victory here, and I can't even see Sheffield United scoring at the minute. You've got 8 to 15 there, the home win. You've got 3-1 there, the draw, and then you've got 11 to 2 Sheffield United. As I say, can't see anything other than a Leicester win.
Well, it's a tough one because obviously yesterday that Chris Welder has left Sheffield United. They're now going to have to. Well, they've got someone new taking over, whether it be just for this particular game. But they've got a new they've got a new approach now, and this is it. You know, they are potentially gone down. But with that news yesterday, they're going to make it hard for Leicester.
That's a huge job. I'm going
to go for a Sheffield United win. You know when you lose your manager and you just go out there and you just play.
Yeah, you haven't got the handcuffs on anymore.
You haven't got the pressure. The people that weren't playing might get a little job. It's a shame because I think he's done a great job down there, up there. Sorry, but yeah, he's. I'm going to go for a Sheffield United win.
That's shocking news, really. But yeah, I mean, I can't see Leicester giving them any sympathy. I cannot see it. So. We'll see. Then we've got the Arsenal-Tottenham game, which we've already mentioned. And then the big one for you there, mate. We've got Man United at home against West Ham. West Ham like travelling to Old Trafford, seemingly. And with the Moyes and Lingard not being able to play. How do you see that one going?
Well, listen, it's a tough game. We played them in the Cup a few weeks ago. We gave a good account of ourselves, but we did lose. Manchester United have got a number of players out injured. Martial is the latest to join the list. Solskjaer said that Rashford and Cavani is definitely out as well. And that also includes Pogba, Mata, Donny van de Beek and David De Gea. So that's a lot of players out. Now, if West Ham are going to beat Man United, this is the time to do it without those players coming in. So I always fancy us, mate. I'm not one of the. I can't not, especially when you hear that. Okay, we haven't got Lingard playing, but I think Bowen will come in for him, and that would be a good little replacement. I'm going to go for a 2-0 West Ham win.
Yeah. I think if ever there was a chance with them playing in the week, I mean, it's let's say I could see West Ham nicking a draw potentially. I don't think Man United actually believe they're going to be able to win the league, but I think they're happy with a second place there. I could see a draw. Well, that pretty much sums up this week for us. We've got an amazing sort of couple of shows coming up there, Turk. We've got some great guests. Look out for the announcements. Please continue to subscribe, like, and comment. Turk, position your head pretty well there. My missus has moved me out of the my studio apartment into another room, hence a different background. But great show. Keep an eye. Keep commenting, liking, subscribing. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you all very, very soon.